are listening to Reinvented. I'm your host, Jen Eckhart. You know, one of my all-time favorite quotes is from former First Lady of the United States, Eleanor Roosevelt, who once said, "Do one thing every day that scares you." Now, for those who know me and for those who are just getting to know me, I live my life by that quote. We can learn big lessons as leaders, athletes, entrepreneurs from these words. Do one thing every day that scares you. Because if you're constantly living inside of a bubble, you can't change. You're not only fighting a losing battle, you're also subverting your own personal growth. Now, speaking of doing scary things, I did a thing. I mean, let's face it, I've done like a million scary things, but this is breaking news, you guys. I recently picked up a tennis racket for the first time since I was 9 years old. That's right. This former competitive cheerleader decided to get back out on the tennis court and make a complete fool of herself. But you know what? I am having so much fun. You know why? Because I'm not a quitter. And I love looking a challenge dead in the eye and giving it a wink. My next guest recently tweeted, "Fear is the #1 motivator in the history of the world." I mean, this guy just gets it. And he just so happens to be tennis royalty. Over the last 40 years, he has trained and worked with the who's who of the tennis world. Everyone from Serena and Venus Williams to Andy Roddick, Maria Sharapova, Jennifer Capriati, Mary Pierce, and Jen Eckhart. Just kidding about that last name. He's the 7-time U.S. PTA Coach of the Year. He was the youngest ever to be inducted into the U.S. Tennis Hall of Fame. He's also a full-time dad and can now add major motion picture stars to his resume with the release of King Richard movie. Rick Macy, welcome to Reinventing.
I'm glad to be here. It's going to be a lot of fun.
How did you like that introduction, including my name and your impressive roster of tennis stars?
Well, once I see you hit a few, I'll see if you have potential and we'll go from there. How's that?
Great. That's awesome. Your academy is located in Boca Raton, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it's in Boca Raton. And if you're ever in Florida, it's open to everybody, 365 days a year.
Amazing. I am Miami, Florida, born and raised. My parents actually live in like the Jupiter Palm Beach area. So I'm going to take you up on that, Rick Macy.
Come on. Yeah, come on down. It'd be a lot of fun.
Rick, it is such an honor to have you on Reinvented because in a way, you, my friend, have reinvented the game of tennis by training some of the most notable top athletes in the world. I mean, you really did throw out the rule book in that you were the only tennis coach willing to take a risk, take a chance on a poor Black family in 1991 in order to help get Venus and Serena Williams the best training they needed to become the champions that they are today. Now, I just watched the King Richard movie last night, and I have to tell you, I cried. I mean, King Richard, for my viewers and listeners who don't know, depicts the upbringing of tennis legends Venus and Serena Williams and the determination of their father, Richard, who's portrayed by Will Smith. Now, Rick Macy, my guest here, is the girls' coach. He's portrayed by John Bernthal. And Rick, I have to ask, as somebody who actually lived the story as seen now on the big screen, I mean, you played such a critical role in making these athletes who they are today. What did you overall think of the film?
No, the film it's a masterpiece and it's going to stand the test of time, and it's so spot on. Almost everything is right there because I was there every day, 4 years, 6 hours a day. Richard was my best friend and Venus and Serena were like my own daughters. Wow. And that doesn't sound like a lot of time, but take that times 365. So we were family. And, I was on a mission. And, when I believe in something, it sounds like a big risk when you see the movie, especially the financial part. I'm not a $1 billion corporation, but I knew what I could do, putting Humpty Dumpty together. And I just saw something inside these two little girls that not only could they possibly be #1 in the world, and they lived in the same house, I thought I could help transcend the game. And so it wasn't as risky. And if you're a coach and you love challenges, it was the best decision I ever made.
You know, you invested not only your time on the court, obviously coaching these two incredible women at your academy in Florida, but you, like you said, you invested your own money for the family to get to Florida, including purchasing their RV in Compton so that they could drive cross country. You provided them with a home, car, and much more when they got to Florida. You even provided a salary for Richard Williams. I mean, this is unheard of for any tennis coach to really do. What it really inspired you to do all of that?
First off, great question. And that I get asked that hundreds of times, email, text, and in person. It was one of those things when I went out to Compton and I met with the family. It was just like yesterday, when they came to the hotel room, Venus was on one leg and Serena was on the other, and arms around Richard, and they were hugging and kissing. And Richard started asking me all kinds of questions. I thought I was in a deposition. It was like, but this guy was like, he was like grilling me. But Jen, I respected it, because if he was going to let someone in his circle, he wanted to know that it was going to be bigger than tennis, because he already knew what I did with Capriati. She was the youngest ever to win the 18s as a 12-year-old, a record that still stands today from 1988. So he already knew the tennis part, but to be a role model and a father figure, he just was taking the temperature. So I immediately bonded with Richard, even though he was a little different. We were kind of cut from the same cloth, because I knew he would be cutting edge. I knew that he'd think out of the box. He wasn't one of these junior parents that were going to play all these tournaments. So then the next day, I got to tell the story. The next day, they said, we're picking you up at 7:00 and we're going to go to East Compton Hills Country Club. So the next day, they picked me up at 7 in that little bus you saw in the movie, the red and white bus that's wobbling, Prince logo on the front. I get in the front seat and I sit there and I get harpooned in the buttock by a spring. And I'm going, and then I look in the back and Venus and Serena, and they're like that. And there's like 4 months worth of McDonald's wrappers. There's balls, there's ball hoppers, there's dirty clothes. And so it was like a movie, because I was at a 5-star resort, Greenleaf Golf and Tennis Resort, as the director. And this was crazy. And let alone, I never got on a plane, Jen, to go see someone. They either came to the academy or I saw them at a junior tournament. So it was, I don't know. I just
had a different vantage point of really how they were living, and really just their sheer determination to make this happen.
Yeah. And then when we went, we were going to East Compton Hills Country Club. And about 10 minutes into the ride, I'm looking around, I'm going, this is a strange place for a country club. And we pull up to this park. There's like 20 guys playing basketball. They're drinking and smoking, and guys are laying on the ground. We get out of the bus, and the basketball court parted like the Red Sea. And they go, Richard, King Richard. So about 3 months earlier, the New York Times did a story on Venus, because she won like 60 matches in the 10 and under. So they knew who they were from a little publicity. So then they go, hey, Meek, Serena Jamaica Williams. They go, hey, Meek, hey, VW. So we go across the court. It parts like the Red Sea. And Richard goes, he's okay. He's with us. I kind of stood out. Yeah. So we go onto the court, and I had a box of Wilson balls shipped there. Richard goes, Rick, we don't use new balls. We want old balls. We want them digging. We want them bending. I go, okay, I get it. It was a little different. So then we go onto the court, and me and you, we wouldn't play on the court. And Richard had a cart next to the post. It was
was it an actual grocery cart?
You got it, like in the movie. About 7 chains wrapped around it. Jen, it took him 20 minutes to get the chains off. He goes, Rick, I got to secure it. It won't be here in the morning. So it was just like, and I'm sitting there going, this is crazy. Because remember, I had Capriati, and she was like poetry in motion. Her knees were bent in the parking lot. Her racket was back, low center of gravity, great fundamentals from the late, great Jimmy Everett, Chrissy's dad. So my reference point is like gold, And now I'm looking at this thing and I'm going, this is crazy stuff. So we started hitting balls. Me and Serena, I was just doing drills at first. And I didn't think they were any better or any worse than 50, 60 in the nation. Arms, hair, beads flying off their head. I mean, tentacles going everywhere. And I'm going, what in God's name am I doing in Compton, California? So I just said, this is not anything special. But then, and this is a great lesson for any parent or coach, or even Rick Macy. You don't judge a book by its cover. The cover could be amazing and the book bad. The cover bad and the book amazing. So we started competing, Jen, and it blew my socks off.
Wow.
When I saw them, we kept score, like the fans are in the stands, you know, and the way they ran, the burning desire, it was like a rage was in these two little kids. There was something, and I just never saw two little kids try so hard. It just blew me away. Now, the strokes were still shaky, but everything got cleaned up a little bit. So I went to Richard. I said, come here. I'm going to tell you something right now. You got the next female Michael Jordan on your hands. And he puts
And
his
he
arm around me.
I got me the next too.
And that's in the movie. And that's all true. Then Venus walks out the gate on her hands for 5 feet and backward cartwheels. I said, listen, these two girls can transcend the sport. I know, I'm thinking 5'11", 150, 6 feet. I'm projecting where this can be in 6 years. And, if they decide to pick me as a coach, if they want me to do it, I was going to do anything to make it happen, because I saw something I've never seen in my life in two little kids. And to this day, I've had a lot of people, win national titles and be number one, and they checked all the boxes, but no one checked them like Venus and Serena. And they even created a few more.
Wow. And I love that the movie really depicted their humble beginnings. I think that's so important. They weren't just champions overnight. I mean, it shows you the struggle. Like you said, it took Richard 20 minutes just to unravel the change from the grocery cart that was holding all of their used tennis balls. And here you brought new Wilson balls for them to use. And wow, there's so many life lessons that are just jam-packed into this film. And thank you for giving us some color look, you live the story. It's one thing to see it, the Hollywood big motion picture, but to actually be talking to the man who was there, like nitty gritty with them amid all of this, is really something else. Now, I have to say, as a journalist, Rick, one of my biggest takeaways was the scene in the film where 14-year-old young Venus Williams was sitting down for an interview with a reporter ahead of a big junior tennis match against Sanchez Vicario. Now, the reporter was a little relentless, like pushed Venus about her ability to win the match. And she responded that she believed she could. She said, I know I can beat her. I'm very confident. But the reporter almost in a way kind of like mocked her confidence and said, but like how? Why are you so confident? I mean, you haven't played a match in nearly 3 years. Richard, Venus's dad, swooped in, interrupting the interview, which actually happened on national TV back in 1994, defending his daughter, saying, hey, pal, she answered your question with a lot of confidence. Leave it alone. You're dealing with a little kid here. I would love to know, Rick, what did you make of that powerful scene?
Well, when I was in the room, I was right there with Richard when the interview was being done. And I think the guy interviewing Venus first, he probably never has been in that situation in his whole life, because looking back now, Venus and Serena are wired very different than a lot of people. So he wasn't around greatness or pure confidence, especially at a young age. So when Venus just said, I know I can. And then he goes, are you sure? And then she says it again. And then Richard freaked out. So you got to remember, I'm telling everybody, she'll be better in Capriati. She'll be number one in the world. Her little sister might be better. And there's all this publicity, Jen, going on. So then when Richard interrupted like that, I'm going, this is crazy. But that was Richard, you know what I mean? And he was right. And then what was crazy, the next day, they didn't cut any of it out. They showed it live on TV, Richard interrupting. And I'm just sitting there going, because I had to defend Richard a lot, because he would say crazy things. But it didn't matter, because he treated these girls the way he acted with them, and the mom too. I think she needs a lot of credit, but I saw that. So no matter what he did, that trumped everything, because he brought their books even to the court. And if it rained, go to Rick's office every single night. Happy, mad, sad, a good day, bad day. They would always say, Rick, thank you very much. They would go home at night, and none of this is in the movie. They'd go home at night, 10, 11 years old, after dinner. He puts up a tripod. He's asking them questions like you are me. He's preparing them life lessons for the day to come, because it's going to be like, me against the world, Muhammad Ali stuff. And he's telling them how to answer the question without answering the question, and with a smile on their face and a hug and a kiss. And so this is because they're both very bright. And they both handle the media, and they flip it around and put them in their pocket. So these are the things that I saw Richard do, and it was bigger than tennis. And so when he did this, it didn't surprise me. It kind of freaked me out, but it didn't matter, because that was one of 100 stories kind of like that, because he was the best father, because I saw it every day, that I've ever been around.
You know, and then the film does an excellent job portraying that. I think Will Smith did a fantastic job portraying Richard. I mean, look, everyone needs hype people in their lives. We all need people who not only believe in us, but also who motivate us, people who remind us of our potential and encourage us to just reach for it. One of the biggest takeaways of the film and real life story for me is you have to believe in yourself. I mean, the world is going to tell you you can't. The world is going to tell you you're not good enough. That's where someone like you comes in, Rick, or someone like Richard. I mean, what are some lessons, I'm curious, that you have instilled in some of your players who feel down on their luck and not good enough?
Yeah, well, no, first off, great question. And that, to anybody, is the easiest thing to get distracted. You know, what you hear, what you read, your friends, your influences. And, you know, always understanding, you know, when you look in the mirror, that's the ultimate test. You want to have those conversations a lot. And just like what you eat, you want to keep empowering yourself with positivity. And that environment that I created for Meek and BW was incredible, you know, because they were just willed to be number one, even though they had the goods to probably be there athletically eventually anyways. It was so positive, and it was all about the big picture. It was never about the moment. It was much always bigger, but
Right.
it takes a special mom and dad to buy into that. But I do that with all the kids. You know, when I give a lesson, the staple is just not biomechanics or technical part or footwork, the mental part. It's an entree, a smorgasbord of everything. Because it's not the people that I've had win Grand Slams or be number one, or the over 300 people that have won nationals or the award. It's the people that do their homework better, or I got them off medication, or they treat other people better, or they come back in life, and how I changed their work ethic. And I didn't try to do any of this, but being on a tennis court, that was my platform. And so the lessons that other people picked up through my career, to me, that's more powerful. And so the art of communication and how to connect the dots, how to take the temperature. I train the kid and the parent. There's an art to that. Just for putting up with Richard for 4 years, I should be in the Hall of Fame. But no, I'm just kidding. No, I actually saw him 2 weeks ago. We were laughing and crying. The stories are just epic, you know, and it's come full circle. So,
And you guys are still best friends to this day. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I just saw him 2 weeks ago, and he's in great health, no matter what everybody says. His memory's like a steel trap. And I had the guy crying and laughing, because a lot of the stories everybody forgets, but you know, I still got a steel trap here. So we went back down memory lane. It was awesome. But to all the other players, they can do it. You know, I think big, you know, they can do it. And, you know, you got to know how to say it, when to send the right emoji, when to text them, when to back off, when to kick them in the butt, when to hug. And there's an art to this. And I've been trying to put Humpty Dumpty together since age 22. I've been on a tennis court, Jen, probably more than anybody in the world. And I still teach 50 hours a week. So at the end of the day, you know, when people have confidence, when they get the big C, they can do anything in their life.
Amazing. You know, and speaking of having confidence, you know, rejection and losing are also a big part of winning, which I think the film also portrays. I mean, I can't tell you, Rick, how many times I've fallen down or have gotten rejected in life, but my failures have always rerouted me to something bigger and better, or there's always been a lesson at the other end of that. In the film and in real life, Richard did not give up after being rejected many times. Venus won a whole bunch of games, but lost in the final match in the movie. She left feeling super discouraged until she walks out to cheering crowds who are so excited just to see her win, to succeed in life. In all your years of coaching, Rick, I am curious, what makes a player coachable?
Oh, that's another great question. You know, I think number one, they got to look at the bigger picture, especially with kids. It's called junior development, not junior final destination. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. And you got to build something. You know, I like buying the ingredients, putting it in the oven, baking it, putting the icing on it. And if I'm still with them on the tour, which is tough because I got a lot of other things with my business. That's what it's all about. The cards you're dealt with at a young age, they're with you forever.
Right.
Okay. So it's like really important. So when it's all said and done, Venus, and you made a great point.
I love how what you call her VW. Is that
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I call Serena at the after party. She goes, listen, other than my dad, you're the only one to call me Meek, so because I'm Serena Jamaica Williams. And so what my point is, for 3.5 years, think about this. They come to Rick Macy Academy. I'm with them 4 or 5 hours a day, 6 days a week. They're hibernating at Rick Macy Academy, getting their butt beat every day, boys, never winning. And, Richard, he got it. But you got to understand, if people don't win a lot, the parents are going somewhere else. I'm like history. So, but this is why we click. This is about the future. So Venus never wins a match for 3.5 years. Then she's forced to turn pro because they changed the age eligibility rule. So we kind of had to do that, even though the movie spins it differently. So she walks off the street, Jen, never playing a match for 3.5 years, hibernating at Rick Macy Tennis Academy and losing. I mean, she lost all the time. Okay. And she gets I get her a wild card. She walks off, beats 57 in the world, who's been in the top 20, NCAA champion, Sean Stafford. She wins that match, goes to press conference, smiling, laughing. I had a lot of fun. It was great. It's just, she flipped it around because everybody wanted to put the knife in.
Odds, right.
No, people wanted to put the knife in her. They didn't like Richard. She was legendary and she never did anything. It was like crazy. Right. So then the next match, she had to play Sanchez and she would have won. She's up 6-3, 3-1. The bathroom break was real. Venus kind of checked out, became a 14-year-old. But right then and there, if people had a brain, they said, wow, I never seen a kid run like that, hit like that, have a serve like that, go for the jugular. And this little girl is going to be number 1 in the world. And her little sister might be better.
Incredible.
Crazy. No, you can't make it up. I mean, you couldn't make it up.
She really did prove that there's no real formula or one size fits all cookie cutter way to become successful. When I hear a story like that, I think of somebody like me who I was told my whole life, oh, you can never work at a national level, at a national network of your dreams. You have to go local affiliate to local affiliate and start small and work your way, going through the motions, moving around from market to market, different city here, different city there. And actually, when I graduated from college at the University of Florida, I mean, when I got the call that I was hired at a national network in New York City, I was on the first flight up here, Rick, and I was working at a national level in my early 20s. And I love hearing things like that because people get so stuck in their ways. Like, no, this is the way to do it. You have to do it this way. And they just kind of threw the rule book out the window.
Yeah, not only through the rule book, but the tournaments, which I don't recommend but you gotta understand, Jen, they were like brutal competitors.
Yeah.
They'd be first to get in line for water.
So that would step over broken glass and backwards again, just fall.
Yeah. No, you got to understand. So I saw, but that's what, I saw it and I believed in me and I believed in Richard and the girls. So that's all. It was just, whether it's 4 years, 8 years, it didn't matter. It was going to happen. I was going to will it to happen. And so, but when what you said is key. When people say you can't, or you get rejected, you got to look at that as a challenge. And you almost have to look as a compliment, in a way, because it's going to open up another door. Or you can feel sorry for yourself and freak out and do what everybody else does, 98% of the world. Listen, the more you fail, you're going to succeed. And you can go through the best shooters, the best quarterback, A-Rod, that he got struck out a lot, but he's hit a mile of the park a lot. You're going to find this, but the wiring has to be different. I got to tell people, it is what it isn't. It's the exact opposite. And you got to flip it in your mind. You can't feel sorry for yourself in the pity party. You have to look at it because what people do, they get stuck and they go the other way. And a perfect example, even myself, my dad died when I was 10. I picked up a tennis racket at 12 years old in a small town of Greenville, Ohio. I played all sports and I just fell in love hitting the ball against the wall and it came back to me. So I really like that. So I had a good practice partner. By age 18, I was number 1 in the Ohio Valley, without a lesson. And I could go on, but here we are this time later, and I teach more lessons than anybody in the United States, and I never had a lesson. So at the end of the day, some people get opportunity, Some people don't. Sure, it might help you, but also can hurt you. You know, when you have to struggle a little bit and it's tougher and it's not rainbow, lollipop, and sunshine, it's better. And that's what I love about Richard, you know, whether it be the old balls or putting the music up real loud, or Venus tosses a ball and he screams at her. I love the guy because that's the real world, you know? And I love the whole family.
King Richard gets into this interesting place in youth sports with burnout and how early is too early to start someone on a superstar path. In the movie, it's a point of contention between you and Richard of when to turn Venus and Serena pro. Now, as I'm sure you know more than anyone, that fame and money can change really anyone. How
Sure.
have you, Rick Macci, been able to stay on top as players' styles and attitudes change?
Yeah, first off, it's a great question, you know. But I knew with Venus and Serena, they would not change. Nothing's going to change them. That wiring was baked in extra crispy from birth all the way to the day they met me, or I wouldn't have dove in head first with the big financial commitment and all the sweat equity. So aside from Venus and Serena, if you're not changing, someone's going to change you. So you got to change with the equipment, the players, the athlete, and you got to adapt your style because kids communicate and listens different. You know, if you're teaching the same way you did 25 years ago, not just the technical part, but how to communicate, how to educate, how to motivate. You know, if you're not changing, it just won't happen. And that's one of the things about my career.
If you're not reinventing.
Yeah, that's right. You have to, and you have to do that. And there's nothing about, you know, modifying or turning it up a notch. Because I always tell people, if you're not getting ahead, you're getting behind. And if you're not winning, you're losing. Okay. So you got to look at it like that. And that's the way I've always looked at it. And even before I came on to talk to you, I learned a lot from the 3 lessons I had starting at 6 this morning. I learn every day from every student and every situation. I'm trying to get better. And that's what I try to help other coaches with. Because when they hear it from Rick Macci, hopefully it will percolate in their head, you know, to listen, I got to step up my game because if not, someone's ready to take your place.
Right, absolutely. Now, I have to know, and this is a $1 billion question here, as someone who has coached everyone from Serena and Venus Williams to Andy Roddick, Sharapova, Capriati, who is your favorite player or players to work with and why? Are you able to answer that question? I know it's a tough one, but people are genuinely curious.
Of all the questions, Jen, you've asked me, it's the easiest one. I would say, are you sitting down? Because I can see you're sitting down.
I'm sitting down.
Okay, here it is.
All my viewers and listeners, sit down too. They're ready.
This is easy. Who's ever on the other side of the net, that hour, that minute, that second. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And that comes across in my teaching. No, that comes across my teaching ever since I started, you know, and when you can make people feel like that, you're going to extract greatness. And that's what I do. I try to maximize their ability. But to sit here and say this one, I've never been like that because you can't fool children. You can't fool kids, you know, and they're so impressionable, and you can empower people to think they can do so much, but you got to have a blend. You can't just, you know, say everything's amazing, but you got to know when to dig in and when to back off. But that's really how I feel. And that's my favorite student who's ever going to be on the court with me after you.
I love that. So taking you up on your promise, when I do come down to Boca and I'm on the other side of the net, that means I am going to be Rick Macci's favorite player at that moment. I love it.
There you go. You're right.
I'll take it. I mean, you have hundreds of stories with Venus and Serena. I have to know, I think you're on the record of saying that Serena was quite the prankster on the court. Yeah. Is there a funny story that you can share with my viewers and listeners that maybe isn't as well known? I recall reading something about a Green Day shirt.
Yeah, I'll tell the Green Day story, but no, there's hundreds, but I got 2 for Serena, just to show you how rough and tough she was. I'll give 2 Serena. Okay, we had a sand pit. Okay, and there was like 40 kids in the sand pit, and they were like playing tag. So you got to juke and bop and weave and shake and bake and rattle and roll. You're out there playing tag. So, you know, Venus, Serena get in there for the first time, and Serena is going to tag someone. And Jen, she tagged someone with a closed fist. And I go, whoa, Serena, you play tag with a fist open. I mean, she was such a little pit bull and such a feisty little one. Okay, she played tag with the fist closed. And we talked about that at the after party, and she's just like hugging and laughing and going,
She's
"Gee,
like, I still do to this day.
yeah, but she does it with a racket. But no, my favorite story with Serena. One day, it's the middle of July. It's like 100 degrees in Florida. I'm on the court with Serena, and Venus is next because we were always side by side. 2 o'clock, and she's just standing there in the corner, and she wasn't moving. I said, "Meek, you got to move your feet." And so she had a little attitude, but I liked the attitude. She goes, "Why?" And I go, "What do you mean why? You told me you want to be number one." She goes, "I will be number one." Like she has that eye that she look, and I go, "Well, how are you going to be number one if you don't move your feet?" She goes, "Well, Rick, I'm really hungry. I want Scott to go to the snack machine. I want some hot curly fries, a Snickers bar, a Pepsi. Then on the way to work today on Linton Boulevard, Daddy drove by a stand and they were selling Green Day t-shirts. So if you could get me one of those, so tell Scott, get me the curly fries, the Pepsi, the Snickers bar, and on the way, Scott can bring tomorrow the Green Day t-shirt. You see that tall skinny girl over there? Venus is real tall and all arms and legs. I'll make her look slower than molasses." So I had Scott get the curly fries, the Pepsi, the Snickers bar. The next day, he was going to bring the shirt. Serena gets her snack, takes a 15-minute break. Jen, for 15 minutes, okay, for 1 hour, for 1 hour, she's popping the popcorn, extra butter, sweat's coming off this little kid like Niagara Falls. For 1 hour, she's going 100 miles an hour, hitting cross-court and down the line. It got to be 15 after 3, and she turned around at me because I was over now with Venus. She goes, "Rick, you better have that Green Day t-shirt here in the morning." Now, this was an 11-year-old. So you can kind of see that fiber.
Oh, yeah.
But see, I don't want a marshmallow. I want a tough cookie.
Of course.
This little girl was a little pit bull, but that's probably my favorite Serena story. And when I told her that, she kind of remembered it. She was just like laughing. It was great. It was great.
I love it. That little diva complex, but that's what makes her a real winner. And I just love that. What a shout out to the band Green Day also. Just such a cute story.
Wait, and another one for parents real quick. They didn't, as you see in the movie, they never played junior tournaments, but at 12 and 13, we got invited to play an exhibition at Hilton Head, South Carolina, on the Family Circle Cup. And so here's Richard. We're not playing junior tournaments. We don't want the hamburger. We'll go for the filet mignon, So we go there, and there's 5,000 people, and they're going to play doubles, an exhibition before the main event against two people you've heard of, Billie Jean King and Rosie Casals. So they're playing this doubles match, and Venus and Serena are standing closer to the service line than the baseline to return serve because they just took the ball so early. It's like a Compton street fight. And they're sitting there going, well, should we tell them where to stand? But that's where they were trained. So they play, and it was amazing. They're hitting balls at Billie Jean, trying to kill. It was amazing. They didn't know how to play doubles, but they knew how to fight. And these kids were like two little warriors out there. Everybody was freaking out about what they saw, even though they were raw. But here's the moral of the story. For anybody listening to this, we get in the van. Now, remember, they just played the two greatest doubles players in the history of women's tennis. Right. We get in the van to go to the airport. Richard's driving, Orsine, Brandy's in the front seat, Meek, Serena's next to me, and VW's in the back. And all of a sudden I hear, "Hey, Venus, how did you play today?" She goes, "I played very good, thank you." "How was your volleys?" "My volleys were amazing, thank you." "How about your ground stroke?" "My ground strokes were incredible." So I'm going, wait a minute, there's Richard, there's Orsine, there's Meek. And I turn around, she's talking to a doll. She has a doll in her hand. She's talking to a doll. The moral of this story for any parent, and Richard knew that I knew, their kids first and tennis players second.
Wow. Well, speaking of which, and actually in Richard's memoir, Black and White, the way I see it, he writes in the beginning, "I decided," and this is a direct quote, "I decided that if people came up to me later on and told me that my daughters were great tennis players, I had failed. Success would be if they came up to me and said my daughters were great people."
No, that's Richard. I know it's easy to say, and it's after the fact because they're iconic, and you're never going to see what just happened. Right. Two kids living in the same house, sharing the same bed, one in the world, and the way they did it, that's going to be hard to duplicate. But it was all about life lessons. And even when I said she's going to play the Bank of the West Classic, and it's in the movie, I'm ready to turn the volume up, more hitting partners, put my foot on the gas because I didn't know what she was going to do. She could have freaked out. The next day, he doesn't show up for practice. He took the kids to Disney World for a week. And it just because he probably wanted to just take a deep breath, because now he made the decision. VW is going to have to go out there, and we'll see how good she is.
One thing your character says in the movie, and you can correct me on how much is fact versus fiction, but you say you showed up here and first thing you did, you pulled them out of juniors. Now you pulled them out of practice. You took them to Disney. You do it constantly for music lessons or homework or even church. Will Smith, his character as Richard, says they got to get straight A's or else they can't play tennis. You knew that. I told you that. That's my rule. There's even a scene where young Venus Williams turns down a $3 million deal. You say to Richard, screw your effing plan. You don't know what you're doing. How much of that was really true, Rick? And were you oftentimes frustrated by Richard's parenting style?
Well, first off, I never get frustrated. I just learn and get better. I have more patience than anybody. So it might have looked in the movie, I got frustrated, because like anything, you're going to have ups and downs, but you get better from every situation. But no, I never got frustrated. And that is very much true, what you said in the beginning about straight A's and all this other stuff. I mean, that was pretty much the template. But you got to understand, by the way I responded to everything, deep down inside, I wanted to practice more. I wanted to work harder. I was doing that not for Rick Macci or Richard Williams. I was doing that for VW and me. I was doing it for the girls. I was trying to, because I was on a mission. I mean, a lot of guys would say, hey, that's great. Take a week off, go to the beach. Most guys just want to take a deep breath and do something else. I wanted to turn it up. So I think deep down inside, he knew how I was wired about wanting to work, and we got to get better every day. The thing with the Nike deal, it was kind of like that. Okay. But one thing that is true, she did play that pro event, and I did get her to play the pro event. Okay. And the rest is history with the deal that they end up getting. So yeah, almost everything in there is true, but there have been people come at Richard with deals. But I didn't really respond like that, because at the end of the day, that's his decision to accept it or not. It wasn't really like that.
I love in the movie when they reject the deal and they say, come on, we're going to dinner. Hey, Rick, come on, you're paying the dinner tab. Was that true?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. No, it's like, you got to understand, Richard and I were best friends. It's different. We weren't just like friends.
Right.
I mean, even the letter,
you were so much more than that.
Yeah, no, it was me and him against the world, Jen. It was a whole different deal. Besides, I would just do anything for the kids. It's a whole different level when you're that deep into something. It's not like on the fringe. But this is how we would joke around. I mean, we would joke around all the time. So when he rejects the deal, he said, hey, Rick, come to dinner. We're going to seafood buffet. You might as well. You're paying for it or whatever. But that's what he would say. We would joke all the time.
Well, and you guys, it's like short-term paying, long-term gain. You guys were looking at the long-term picture here.
Absolutely. And that, but that being said, I think the whole world that sees this, especially the tennis world, they know it didn't go from Compton to center court. That 4 years at Rick Macci, and just, how important that is in a child's life. Forget mentally, forget the mental part, which is big, just technically putting Humpty Dumpty, putting this thing together and being on that commitment, but then the financial part. So I think everybody has to understand the patience and the art of coaching, because, like I said, Richard's very stubborn and he's set in his ways, and you could see that in the movie. But when I handled him the right way, we all won. Right. If I would have reacted to everything, it would have lasted one day. I probably would have left Compton and said, I don't want to do it. But I knew what I was getting into. And like anything in life, you got to look as a challenge. And, when you take a deep breath and you don't react to everything and count to 100, a lot of good things can happen.
Not every action requires a reaction. That's what makes you the coach you are today. That's why you coach the big dogs. Now, yeah. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this. Now, just parting ways from the movie for a second. There have been some feelings of hopelessness, and I guess you could say frustration surrounding U.S. men's tennis as of late. Now, Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that there are currently 14 men in the top 100, the most since 1996, but none in the top 20. Now, the US doesn't have any truly elite players right now, but it does have youth. And when I think of that, I'm like, that's where Rick Macy comes in. He is building the future of tennis. I think that in watching the US Open this year, it also hinted at better days ahead. How can American tennis get back in the spotlight?
It's going to be a slippery slope. Amazing question. Someone asked me that the other day. Well, been asked this a lot. Here's what's happened. The sport is so global, and the best athletes, okay, go into tennis from other countries outside the United States. There's not a lot of options with football. There's just not a lot of options. So the other countries get the people who have better fast twitch muscle, mentally strong, different households, great genetic base. Those are the athletes that you see in Djokovic, Federer, Medvedev, Murray, Rafa. And we don't get that. Think about it. The two best players, the last time I checked, whether it's Isner and Riley Opelka, one's 7 feet tall and the other's 6'11". I mean, they should be shooting layups and jump shots in the NBA. So they're there because they're different, because they have a monster serve and they're still got good attributes, but they're a little different, So where's everybody at? Tiafo, all these players are very good, okay, but great, Jen, is rare air. Great is a special fraternity. To get there, like anything in life, and to stay there and be consistent, that's just a whole nother level. So the only way we're going to do it, okay, and I have the formula. I've talked to USTA. I don't have magic, but it's easy. If I would have had LeBron James at 10 years old, there's no doubt I could have got him number one in the world, because he checked all these boxes that on a rainy day or when you're nervous, he can run and fight and compete. It just makes it easier when you have that elite athlete. So what you do is this: you get the best kids when they're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You try to find the needle in the haystack. You find needles. You don't just like throw it out there. The fact that we have so many men in the top 100, duh. I mean, the country's enormous. We should have 40. I mean, the bar's been pushed back. Now we got that many. Listen, that's a great accomplishment. But the last guy I coached, Andy Roddick, he's the last guy to win a Grand Slam. Okay. And I had Andy from age 9 to like 13. Yeah. So what I'm saying is this: you find the best athletes, their parents did something in the Olympics or high level college, NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, and you got to fund it. You got to go all in, hedge your bet. It's not going to all hit, but you're going to cover so many bases where you're going to have 4 or 5 kids eventually that will be in the top 10 players, because they can already do a lot of things that you just can't change. You just can't change if someone's limited mobility or they're bad technically. And I'm not saying cloning. You get a Federer forehand, a Djokovic backhand, a Roddick serve, you move like Djokovic on the court, you have a mind like Rafa, and you can put them in these environments, but you got to go in and do it this way. Because let's face it, whatever's been going on, it hasn't worked. And we can sit here and come up with excuses. I would love a shot at doing something like this. But when you evaluate talent, everything in life is in the eye of the beholder. So who's evaluating the talent? So what I tell people all the time, what you may see might be different than Rick may see. So it's a whole different thing when people evaluate talent. No one's done this, probably more than myself, because I see it through a different lens. So, and you're not always going to be right, but you'll be right more than anybody. But you're right, it is a problem. Korda might have something going that's coming up. He might be able to grab a couple, and some of these other guys might grab a slam. But to stay there and be there for a long time, we got to have a whole different athlete and train them from a young age.
Well, speaking of youth and looking ahead to the future of tennis, you are inspiring young boys and girls across the country to pursue their dreams, such as the Miami Cinderellas group with the Boys and Girls Club. And in fact, in early November, you hosted an instructional event with Miami nonprofit Saving Our Daughters in Boca, Florida. You gave tennis instruction to a group of girl tennis players and insights into coaching 2 of the greatest female athletes of all time. Who better than Rick Macy himself? I am curious, what is the most rewarding part about transforming young lives through the game of tennis?
Well, I think every day, it's not really what you can do for yourself. Because if you do more for others, you're indirectly going to benefit yourself.
Right.
So that whole situation, at the end of a long day, that was so much fun because I saw the smile on these girls' face, and they were kind of nervous, and they found out, as you know, I'm just one of the guys, I'm so down to earth and so genuine about everything. And, I got them to work hard. So when you work hard, then you're going to work harder. And I
Yeah.
could tell that I changed their life, and I made their day. And when they got an Academy t-shirt or they got a book from me, and I just, that's the best feeling in the world. It's not someone winning a national title. I mean, because that's a game changer. Because there's just so much nonsense out there, especially in today's world. I mean, it's brutal, and to have someone, me, be able to talk to him, it's just so rewarding. And I like doing those things because that's the best feeling in the world when you can do that for other people. It's very empowering. And
I call that sending the elevator back down, right?
yeah, I loved it, and we're gonna do it again and again and again. And I just saw the difference in the kid's face. And the best thing was this: when we got done, after I taught like 10 hours and I did another 2 with them, it's like, we don't want to go home, and I'm sitting there going, I got to go home and hang out with my cat and eat and get up at 5 in the morning. Yeah, I got to hang out. So, and they wanted me to get on the bus with them and go to Miami. It was a game changer. So I loved it.
Impact you're having on children's lives. I think it's incredible. And I do think that the King Richard film in and of itself has sort of reinvigorated the spirit of people in terms of playing tennis. Like, I immediately wanted to pick up a racket and go out onto the tennis court, and hopefully it has that ripple effect across the country.
No, it will, and I think you can pick up, I mean, it's something for everybody. The inspiration, like I said, the dedication, the motivation, the perspiration.
Yeah.
It's not a highlight reel of V and Meek hitting the ball, it's more than that. And it shows you there's not a wrong way or a right way. There might be a better way. And maybe it was the Williams way for them, and it's not for everybody. But if you can't get something out of that, if you didn't laugh, or you didn't have a tear in your eye, or you didn't feel inspired, then you don't have a pulse, because the movie is epic. It's a masterpiece. It's going to go down as one of the best sports movies ever. And I think it's going to stand the test of time. And
I think it's going to be a real Oscar contender, actually. I hope.
For sure. And what I think is the best compliment, a lot of people that see it once, they've seen it twice. And that's the best compliment ever. They go back and there's so much stuff in there to get out of it. And I think it's incredible.
Rick, as we wrap up here, at 67, I have to say this. I mean, you're still on the tennis court giving lessons every day. You've helped 5 players reach the world #1 ranking and coached 8 Grand Slam tournament winners since 1985. At 67, you're still putting in, like you said, 50-hour work weeks with private lessons at the Rick Macci Tennis Academy in Boca, Florida. You wake up at 3:30 a.m. every single morning. That's insane. That's crazy to me. But I have to know why do you wake up that early? I mean, like, what inspires you? What keeps you motivated to do that every single day?
Well, great question. A lot of people have asked me that too. Everything in life is a habit. There's good habits and bad. You become a creature of habit. I've done it for really the last 25 years. I don't even have an alarm clock. It's just like bang, like you saw in the movie, bang, bang. I'm up, and once I get up, I'm just ready to go. It's just probably how I've been put together. And I've always been that way. And, if you love what you do and you love helping others and you have passion, it's not work. When it's 100 degrees out there, it's not that hot to me. I've been outside for so long. I'm like a lizard. So I'm probably, I'm bulletproof to the weather. But no, I get up and, I eat something, and I run a half mile every day. And I run a business. So, I have a lot of other stuff. I email everybody, I text everybody, I got students. So it's not just what I do on the court. I kind of am the engine in the business, because the personal touch that I can talk to someone, and, people are calling me now and they say, wait a minute, is this really Rick Macci on the phone? And I go, bang, they go, oh yeah, it is you. So, but I like that. I like people that, I'm a people person. And so, but I get up that early. I'm the first one to work. I open up the park. What's crazy is this is a crown jewel of Palm Beach County. I have this amazing relationship of Palm Beach County. It's like Disneyland and Candyland. The place is incredible. A lot of pros play there. You can rent a court for $5, and you might have Sophia Kennan or Francis Tiafoe playing there. And there's a tournament every weekend. But at 67, I have a key. I open up the park, Jen, every morning. It's like 67 on my resume. I'm a park ranger now. I'm officially a park ranger. So, but no, I just like to be first. I like to be ready. Then you don't have to get ready.
As Ricky Bobby says, if you ain't first, you're last. I love it.
There you go. I like that one. I like that one.
That's the kind of attitude that makes you a winner in life. You know, one of the main reasons, Rick, I decided to start this podcast is because it's given me a unique opportunity to do something new and exciting, which is combining my journalism background and passion for storytelling. But, you know, my hope is that people who listen and watch this episode walk away with a renewed belief that they too can achieve and reinvent themselves, no matter the cost, no matter the circumstance. And I really do believe that your story and impact, training some of the most successful athletes in the world, is reigniting a movement to challenge ourselves and our fears, both on and off the court. So thank you, Rick, for taking the time off the tennis court to come on Reinvented.
No, it was awesome. I really enjoyed it, and we'll do it again.
Thanks so much. So to all my viewers and listeners, if you haven't seen King Richard, go see it, do it. I promise you will not regret it. I do believe it will be an Oscar contender, I hope, this year. You will be inspired. So please find a way to watch it. As for this podcast, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to Reinvented. That's available wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, you name it, it's there. I'm Jen Eckhart. That was Rick Macy. Thank you for listening to Reinvented.